963 dot dash. Consider the story of a man named Robert. He is an intelligent individual, a retired structural engineer who mapped out his post-career finances down to the last cent. Upon reaching age 62 during the previous calendar year, he followed a path chosen by millions of aging citizens across the nation. He accessed the official federal portal and submitted his request to begin receiving early retirement checks. Had he chosen to remain patient until reaching age 67, his full monthly entitlement would have reached $2,500. However, by selecting the early option, he agreed to a lifelong 30% reduction, which left him with a regular payment of just $1,750. He mistakenly believed this financial reality was set in stone forever. Yet, within a matter of months, local real estate assessments spiked, living costs skyrocketed, and Robert came to the painful realization that he had committed a major blunder capable of destroying his standard of living. What escaped his knowledge, and what remains completely unknown to 99% of older Americans, is that the federal framework contains an unadvertised escape route. It functions as an entirely lawful, fully sanctioned governmental reset option that permits citizens to completely wipe away the reduction imposed by early filing and restore their monthly payouts to their absolute peak. For those eager to discover the precise mechanism for initiating this policy option before the window of opportunity slams shut, making sure to follow future updates is highly recommended. The regulations governing federal retirement, strict timeline restrictions, and payment administrative guidelines undergo revisions with every passing year. When these adjustments occur, no representative from the federal bureaucracy is going to reach out to explain how to undo a devastating money mistake or rescue your golden years after the initial apply. Cations have already been processed. Uncovering those precise steps is the entire purpose of this information. To see how this works, we must analyze the exact regulatory document Robert utilized to correct his trajectory. The entire approach relies heavily on a particular federal instrument designated as Form SSA-521, which carries the official title of Request for Withdrawal of Application. You will never encounter promotional advertisements for this paperwork on public television, and it is highly improbable that an office clerk will volunteer this information unless a citizen explicitly requests it by its exact name. Grasping the true leverage of this option requires a clear understanding of how the federal program categorizes your retirement choices. Choosing to take your benefits early means entering into an unyielding commitment. The government provides you with funding ahead of schedule, but in return, they apply a permanent discount to your checks for every remaining month of your lifetime. For an individual in Robert's exact shoes, that 30% penalty causes damage that reaches far beyond the immediate term. It compounds continuously as time moves forward. Every annual adjustment for inflation and every cost of living increase is calculated from that diminished starting baseline. Should Robert survive well into his mid-80s, that isolated choice made at age 62 could realistically deprive him of more than $100,000 in cumulative lifetime wealth. Leaving that level of capital on the table due to temporary anxiety or a minor mathematical misjudgment is a deeply unsettling prospect. However, Form SSA-521 completely reshapes the landscape. Submitting this paperwork notifies federal authorities that you wish to rescind your original choice. You are exercising a legal right to cancel your active claim. Once authorization is granted, the administration treats your entire employment file as though you had never initiated a claim at all. Your early distribution reduction is completely wiped from the record. Your baseline benefit amount is instantly liberated to resume its upward trajectory, accumulating vital delayed incentives at a rate of 8% annually until hitting its ultimate ceiling at age 70. It acts as an incredible fiscal reset mechanism. However, as is always the case when navigating vast federal agencies and transactions involving six-figure sums, this operational reset features a highly critical stipulation. A retiree cannot simply choose to wipe the slate clean multiple years down the road whenever it becomes convenient. The Social Security Administration enforces 3 unyielding, non-negotiable protocols to ensure this policy is not manipulated. Executing this strategy successfully demands flawless compliance with these directives. The opening rule involves a strict duration threshold, which is why immediate action is absolutely essential. You are granted a window of exactly 12 months from the specific calendar date your distributions were initially greenlit to submit Form SSA-521. This represents an absolute cutoff date. The timeline is not measured from the final day of the calendar year, nor does it begin when you finally recognize your choice was a mistake. It expires precisely 1 year from the date of your approval notice. If you wake up on day 366 wishing your income stream was larger, this particular pathway is sealed off for the rest of your life. This 12-month window exists specifically for individuals like Robert, people who rush to file early out of economic anxiety or short-term constraints, but quickly realize during their opening year of retirement that their calculations were flawed. Perhaps they came into an inheritance. Perhaps they grew restless and resumed employment. Or perhaps they simply sat down with a pen and paper and realized the long-term math of early filing was fundamentally dismantling their future stability. No matter the underlying motivation, rapid action is mandatory. The second directive is the most challenging hurdle, and it serves as the primary reason many retirees abandon the effort entirely. The government will permit you to erase your choice and rebuild your future income, but they will not allow you to retain the funds they previously distributed to you. Every single penny must be returned. It is the financial equivalent of trying to force toothpaste back into its packaging. Yet, there is a pivotal nuance here that frequently blindsides even the most meticulous planners. You are not merely required to return the specific cash amounts that arrived in your checking account. You are legally obligated to repay the gross valuation. Let us return to Robert's scenario to illustrate this. Across an 11-month span, his gross monthly entitlement sat at $1,750. However, the actual electronic transfers he received were lower because federal systems were automatically withholding his Medicare Part B premiums directly from the total. Assuming those specific medical premiums hovered around $175 each month, Robert was only seeing a net sum of $1,575 land in his bank account. When he submits his withdrawal paperwork, he is barred from simply writing a check for the net funds he personally spent. He must provide a single payment covering the entire gross total, which means reimbursing the government for every withheld Medicare premium, any voluntary income tax withholdings he previously authorized, and even court-ordered garnishments if any were active. For Robert, taking 11 months of benefits and multiplying it by his gross figure of $1,750 means he must produce a lump sum payment of exactly $19,250. Furthermore, this clawback mandate extends past your personal finances. If any additional dependents or relatives are currently receiving auxiliary cash distributions based entirely on your lifelong work history, their funding must also be paid back in full. Imagine if Robert had a younger spouse who was actively drawing a spousal allocation tied to his career record throughout those same 11 months. For Robert to successfully reset his personal standing, his wife must provide her written consent to the cancellation on the application. Additionally, every dollar paid out to her under that spousal provision must be refunded completely. If your household lacks the liquidity to return the gross sum, including the medical premium deductions, tax withholdings, and auxiliary family distributions, the agency will flatly reject your application, leaving you permanently bound to your diminished monthly rate for the rest of your days. The third directive is straightforward but entirely rigid. This opportunity is extended only once. You receive precisely one alternative attempt during your lifetime. If you complete the documentation, clear the massive repayment hurdle, and successfully reset your baseline, you are completely free to file for retirement benefits again several years down the line when you are older. However, if you experience second thoughts during that subsequent filing, you are entirely out of options. The administration will never allow you to deploy the withdrawal approach a second time. It is a single-use emergency lever.